I think our character, who we are at your core, I don't think that shifts.
That's why a lot of these celebrities that start these things, they can't keep up. You know, like the Meghan Markles.
I think a lot of behaviors and habits and roles that you end up playing in your life can bring out the best or worst in a lot of people, but you're still who you are.
Like, guys, you don't got to do this. Please, I'm begging you to.
I didn't think this interview could hit a lower point, but wow, it actually did. And not just a little. It completely crashed in the kind of way that makes people roll their eyes and close the tab, mumbling, "Come on, do you really think we're that clueless?" It wasn't even subtle. Everyone picked up on it right away. So today, I'm saying what everyone's been thinking, but no one wanted to break down. No sugarcoating, no fake positivity, just the raw part everyone caught in the first minute. I'm keeping it simple, straight, and yeah, a bit fiery because the gap between what's being said and what's really going on is screaming too loud to ignore. Here's the heart of the mess. This interview tried to sell real life while guarding the brand like it's Fort Knox. It wants your trust, but never gives a single real reason to earn it. You hear soft words like joy, home, authentic, but underneath, it's all control, distance, and PR spin. The vibe doesn't match the message, and that's why people felt weird about it. Not because of success, not out of envy, but because the story just doesn't sit right once you actually think about it.
I'm a little bit vintage in many ways because I'm from a time capsule of handwritten notes. I have to imagine Siri's not on my phone. I don't have location service, things like that I'm not caught up in the day-to-day tech things that most people are. Imagine Siri's not on my phone. I don't have location services. Back on Instagram was a really big decision, but also it's just been joyful. I'm really intentional in using it as a platform to share joy and to have fun as well.
You just can't keep faking it. It's too hard.
Let's talk about the "I don't have time to cook dinner" moment. On its own, fine. Lots of people don't cook. Plenty grab takeout, no shame there. But in this setup, it felt like someone pretending to be relatable instead of just being real. You're wiping plate edges, styling takeout, and making sure every detail looks picture perfect. Okay, cool, but that's not real life. That's performance. If the goal is to be honest, then say what your real life actually looks like. Don't filter it through a fake normal lens just to seem down to earth. If your days are full of meetings, brand calls, and photo shoots, say that. If you've got help at home, say that too. The act of pretending to live a normal life while living a totally different one is exactly what makes people cringe. Just keep it real. Something like, "I don't cook. We order in most nights, and I just like plating it nicely." Sounds human. But saying, "I don't have time to cook" when you've got a full team behind you, that's not evil, just tone deaf.
But I'm really unapologetic about the fact that though would it be lovely to go and churn your own butter? Sure, maybe. I don't have time for that.
You literally waste time in your garden all the time to get flower sprinkles, so you say. How do you have time for any of this?
I don't have time for that. I'm great at ordering takeout and plating it beautifully. And look, and yes, do I have small things where even on my kids' plates, I wipe the side of the plate? Someone might go, "Oh my gosh, that's so ridiculous." For me, that's 2 seconds where I get to present something that looks a little bit more beautiful.
I cannot imagine having a meal with Meghan Markle or trying to cook and she's literally cleaning, changing the order on the plates to make. No one cares. I just want to eat.
And it seems like that lady is a temptress. She's a siren. She's
Ooh,
lured him into the rocks.
Then comes the sold out moment. And it sounds huge, like a massive win. But without actual numbers, it's just noise. Anyone can sell out if the batch is tiny. Make 50 units and sell them fast? That's not high demand, that's just basic math. Yet the interview jumps from that straight into talking about needing purchase orders for 1 million jars and lids. 1 million, that's not a small step. That's a leap across a canyon. You don't make that jump unless you've got contracts signed and real repeat buyers lined up. Otherwise, it's just a flashy headline, not a real business move. If the growth is real, show proof. Show a retailer test. Show co-packer schedules, production lists, something. Real founders deal with the boring but real stuff. Shelf life, returns, flavor tests, spoilage. You don't have to spill trade secrets, but at least show this is more than a photo op and a catchy quote. Prove there's something solid behind the shine. Right now, it all sounds like a story, not a real supply chain. That whole home recipe talk feels sweet, but unrealistic. Scaling food is seriously tough. Total respect to anyone who actually does it.
Actually get a drink in peace?
Yes. Yeah. We go out a lot. I love it a lot in our community, in Montecito and in Santa Barbara.
I didn't think this interview could get any worse, but it sure.
But the way it's described here, it doesn't sound like someone who's ever stood in a production room at 2 a.m., hair tied back, hands sticky, wondering where the batch went wrong. It sounds like someone pretending to be the builder instead of someone who's lived through the chaos of real operations. Real founders speak a whole different language. They drop the names of their co-packers, talk about heat curves, sugar ratios, and that one fruit batch they had to dump completely because it failed testing. They talk about the constant war between flavor, safety, and cost, because you never win all three at once. They'll shout out the plant manager who saved a run at the very last second, or groan about the week everything fell apart because a label spec was off and the team had to re-stick every single pallet by hand. That's the real grind. That's real experience. Works. You don't just brag about yourself. Works. You don't just brag about yourself. You celebrate the crew who made it happen with you, because no one builds that alone. If you can't name those people, it starts to feel like the whole story was written for a glossy magazine spread, not earned in a factory with hairnets and stainless steel tables.
Yes.
The rosé sold out also in less than an hour.
44 minutes. I was shocked.
How do you keep up with demand?
When you sell out that quickly, it's a double-edged sword because it's an incredible thing to happen for any small business and any startup. And at the same time, you don't get the same metrics and learnings about which SKUs and products are the most coveted because it's all gone immediately.
Then comes the talk about price and that BB shirt memory. I get it. The brand wants to stay fancy, but still feel reachable. That you can have a little piece of this world energy is strong. But even that memory gives away the trick. The heart of the story isn't about flavor, family, or craft. It's about a shiny rhinestone logo and the thrill of being noticed while wearing it. That's not heritage, that's status marketing. And honestly, that's fine. Status marketing works. Just be straight about it. Don't wrap it in fake words like authentic or heartfelt. If the brand is about sparkle, glow, and showing off a little, own it. People still might love it. What they won't love is being floated through a dreamy story while someone's quietly reaching for their wallet. And then we hit the keepsake jar idea. Keep it for flowers, pens, whatever. Cute, yes, but also kind of revealing. The brand doesn't just want you to enjoy the jam. It wants to stay with you after it's gone. It wants that jar on your desk as a little reminder, a mini trophy. But that's not home. That's strategy dressed up as sentiment. That's branding. Pure marketing psychology at work. And honestly, if the jam is truly amazing, the jar won't need a sales pitch. It'll feel special on its own. You don't need to sell me the container. Sell me what's inside. Because if you promise me a memory and the taste feels like clickbait, I'm not keeping the jar. I'm keeping a mental note that says, this brand overpromised. Then there's that magic word they keep waving around. Authenticity. Supposedly the brand's secret weapon. The Instagram gives off joy. The captions feel real. But scroll to the product pages, and it's all promo, polished copy, and perfectly staged shots. None of that is illegal, obviously. Every brand curates. But calling that real life? That's where it falls apart. And when people point it out, the brand acts like criticism is cruelty. If you actually want to be real, be transparent. Say, we style, we plan, we shoot, we try to make things look good, and yeah, we're human. That's believable, because here's the truth. Authenticity isn't something you declare, it's something people give you. You can't just keep shouting we're authentic louder and expect it to stick.
The most coveted because it's all gone immediately.
From 2011 to 2017, I was the entrepreneur in residence at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, and I helped startups and new CEOs get funding for their companies. I taught them how to pitch, how to get their body language happening so they could be trusted when they're pitching and asking for money. So before I helped them, I'd have to look at their business and make sure everything they said was going to happen was going to happen. I had to make sure everything they were saying was true. And when I heard stuff like this, I wasn't into it. I said, nope.
Now let's talk about the Netflix connection, because this is where the story really starts to slide. Investor, partner, supplier, network. That's not small time. That's a full machine. And if you're plugged into that kind of power, own it. Just say what it is. A media brand with a consumer product side hustle. Content, community, and commerce all running from the same powerful engine. People get that model. What doesn't land is calling the media world a cruel machine 1 minute, then turning around and using that same global streaming machine to fund your dream the next. You can't say the system's toxic when it talks about you, but perfect when it signs your check. The audience notices that double play instantly. It's not that people want failure, they just want honesty. Pick a lane, or at least admit the trade-off. If you say criticism is the machine, but the money is the opportunity, that mixed message sticks out like neon. Say the quiet part out loud. Be straight about the deal you made. Then comes the talk about retail, Target, Williams-Sonoma, and even home goods expansions. That screams spread, not depth. And that's the classic celebrity brand play. Hit every shelf everywhere as fast as possible. But here's the catch. Most brands don't crash because nobody noticed them. They crash because they went wide before they went deep. Real loyalty doesn't come from constant expansion. It comes from doing one thing consistently, maybe even boringly, well, for a long time. That's what builds trust, not glittery launches or endless product lines. Make the jam so good and so consistent that people hit reorder without even thinking twice. Then, and only then, build the next product with that same energy and care. Because if you start slapping your name on everything too fast, your name stops meaning anything. A logo isn't a soul, a candle isn't a story. A real story is what people whisper about you when you're not in the room. And right now, that story sounds like, yeah, it looks nice, but I'm not buying it. That's the danger zone right there. Now let's swing back to the pregnancy video moment and that perfectly joy-filled feed. Sharing personal moments is absolutely your right. No one's arguing that. But don't say you don't look at the noise while planning a full-on interview meant to reshape that exact noise. You look. Your team looks. Everyone with a brand looks. That's how impact gets measured. Pretending you don't see it just makes it sound like you're both above it and secretly hurt by it. You can't say, I don't care and this really hurt me in the same breath. That contradiction confuses people fast. You can be strong and still admit you read the comments. You can be private and still admit you care. Just be consistent. Because that balance, honesty with boundaries, would make people trust you instantly.
When you sell out that quickly, you actually... It's a double-edged sword because it's an incredible thing to happen.
Dude, you're selling like 10 jars of jam. You will not show the figures. They even admitted it. Bloomberg's, we don't know what her figures are, but she's sold out. Yeah, because you're doing this fake sellout where you sell 10, 20 products and then, oh, we're sold out.
The second seasonal drop and 10x our inventory and thought.
So she went from a 10 to 100, allegedly.
For sure, that would at least.
They're not gonna buy 100 of these dumb jams. Dude, I bet you bought them yourself.
These last for a couple weeks. That sold out in a couple hours. And suddenly the conversation goes from at the start of this year talking about a few thousand jars and lids to we need to do a purchase order of 1 million.
Here's the real game changer. Show one real receipt. Not a vibe, not a poetic caption, an actual piece of proof. How many units were in drop 1? How many in drop 2? What's the repurchase rate after 60 days? What's the return rate? How many sales were organic versus boosted by ads? How many came from outside the US? If you're claiming a purchase order for 1 million units, show it. If you can't show it, don't say it. It's that simple. The strongest brands earn the word authentic by facing the boring, unglamorous math that keeps them honest, not by running away from it. Now let's point out where the first cracks in trust start showing, because this is exactly when the audience checks out. Saying no time to cook while pushing kitchen lifestyle tips? That doesn't mix. If you don't cook, don't sell from my kitchen. Sell you. People respect realness way more than a stage plate. And that whole 10 times talk? It means nothing if the starting number was tiny. A small number multiplied is still small. But if it's big, say it. Show it. Being upfront isn't risky anymore. Faking it is. If it's small, say it's small. That kind of honesty would actually shock people in a good way. It's refreshing when someone admits, we're still learning. It builds trust instantly. Now, the third big issue, home recipe versus corporate scale. Every real food brand, once it grows, uses co-packers or full production plants. That's normal. But pretending the kitchen is still the factory? That's where people start rolling their eyes. Give credit to the ops crew, the ones who keep things running when machines jam or deliveries fall behind. Put them on camera, show a real day on the line when things go sideways and still get fixed. That's how you earn respect. Not through polished storytelling, but through showing the messy, hard-working truth. Then we've got the authenticity versus keepsake jar problem. A pen holder isn't proof of soul, it's just glass with leftovers. Real soul comes from clean ingredients, flavor that stays solid across every batch, and a price that doesn't jump every time there's a new drop. That's what gives a product meaning, not the jar sitting on a desk for decoration. Next, the classic contradiction. The machine hates me. versus I'm plugged into the machine. You can't play both sides of that without friction. If you're part of the system, be upfront about it. Own the access. Don't pretend it's oppression. It's better to be open than to act like the underdog while sitting inside the empire. Now, to be fair, a lot of celebrity brands start clumsy. They overpromise, misstep, then slowly get it right. So yes, this can still be turned around.
Yes, absolutely.
How long does it take to develop each product? What's that process like?
Oh, goodness. I'm exasperated in some ways by that, only because it is such a tedious proposition to scale your own home recipe.
It's not your home recipe. Don't keep trying to claim that it is.
To something at mass and maintain the same, not just quality, but the same flavor that you're able to do at home. And I think any home cook would say that. If you say, great, can you make your cobbler that I love? I said, great, of course I can make my cobbler. Great, can you make 1,000,000 cobblers? Can you teach someone how to make 1,000,000 cobblers that taste just like the one that you have at home?
I love how she's like introducing like it's the first time anyone's ever done this. Like, girl, so many people do this. It's like, yeah, go hire a company who...
Here's how, and it's simple. Be real in plain words. Tell people exactly how many jars were in those first 2 drops. Commit to one hero product for 12 straight months before adding anything new. Show the plant, show the people, name your food scientist, name your operations lead, and do one unscripted Q&A with tough questions. No pre-approved list, no staged answers. Take the hits calmly. That's what wins people over. And please, stop calling curated content real life. Just call it what it is, what we share. That one little phrase change would wipe away the fake halo and make everything feel human again. Now let's talk about that 1,000,000 cobblers line. The one clip that keeps getting replayed everywhere. Sure, it's cute, but it's also a hedge, a way to dodge real numbers. Real builders don't need dessert metaphors. They've got facts, not fluff. Real builders talk about scale like they've bled for it. They say things like, we failed 3 pilot runs before we fixed the heat distribution. Or, we lost 2% of our labels and had to reprint the entire batch. Or, we switched suppliers because the fruit bricks were inconsistent. Those aren't secrets, they're signals. They tell the audience, you're not acting, you're actually working. Now, about that claim that critics are just clickbait machines. Sure, some are. The internet does love a pile-on, but here's the truth that actually matters. People are way sharper than brands think. They can sniff out a mismatch between story and reality faster than any PR team ever could. When you say you want privacy but also film a show about your home life, people catch that contradiction instantly. When you say the world is unfair but also claim I don't read any of it, people see the dodge. When you call yourself a builder but talk like a brand ambassador, the gap becomes obvious. And when people notice that gap, they don't always turn hateful. Sometimes they just stop believing. And when belief fades, the worst thing happens, they stop buying. That's 1,000 times more damaging than a harsh comment. Silence is death for a brand. But here's the part that might surprise you. This isn't doomed, not even close. There's a totally clear, simple path back to trust. It's not flashy, not cinematic, and definitely not a sunset-filled montage. It's humble, steady, and real. The formula? Do less, prove more, say less, show receipts. Stick to that for 6 months, just 6, and watch the tone shift. The jokes will soften, the edits will change, and even the loudest critics will quietly admit, okay, that felt real. That kind of respect can't be bought. It has to be earned, one action at a time.
Stand out.
I think the authenticity is probably what will help it stand apart.
Her authenticity. It's literally the one thing she doesn't have. It is so fake. Everything here just feels fake.
Now, let's finally talk about the elephant in the room. The one everyone keeps pretending isn't standing there. The first look deal talk and those quiet money whispers. Honesty wins here too. Just tell the truth. Say, our first chapter was bumpy. We learned fast. We got a smaller deal because we still have a lot to prove. Now we're focused on making a show that stands on its own. That's it. Simple, grounded, and believable. Say that, and people will relax instantly. Because the moment you stop performing and start being real, the audience meets you halfway. If you wrap everything in phrases like doubling down on joy, evolution, and shared vision without naming what's actually going on, people instantly feel managed. And nobody likes feeling handled. Folks don't want fancy spin, they just want the truth. Short, clean, and real. One honest line would do more good than any polished photo shoot ever could. We're building slow. The first drop was small. We made mistakes. The second one was bigger and better. We're not at 1 million, not even close. We're not pretending, but we're trying. That's strong. That's human. That's believable. You don't need a halo. You need a heartbeat. Now imagine a better interview. Same chair, same lights, but totally different words. Something like, I don't cook. Most nights we order in. I like things neat, so I played it nicely. It makes me happy. I know that sounds extra. It is. I'm extra, and I'm fine with that. That kind of honesty, it changes everything. Then go deeper. We made 2,000 jars the first time and sold out because our audience is loyal, not because we're famous. That felt great. The second time, we made 20,000, sold out again. But no, we're not doing 1 million anytime soon. We're not built for that yet. We're still testing shelf life in warmer states and learning the hard way. Netflix invested in us. That means pressure, but also access to better suppliers. I'm grateful for that. It's not a secret. That's the deal, and I want to make that deal worth it. For them and for us. And then admit the human side. I do read some of the noise. Not all of it, but some. It gets to me sometimes. I'm human. I don't want to live online, but I live in the world, and the world is loud. I'm learning to listen for what's useful. If I heard that kind of interview, I'd stop being annoyed. I'd start listening. I might even buy a jar, not for the name, but for the honesty. Because that's the whole point. The gap between message and reality is the real battlefield. The internet can be brutal, sure, but it's not stupid. People give grace to flawed humans all the time. What they don't forgive is a mannequin pretending to be flawed just to seem relatable.
Covering the main things you want to talk about when you're talking about the path to profitability, but she's not talking about the details.
It might not just be one. We might have exclusivity in certain ones that make sense for the consumables, but as you expand into candles or things throughout the home, where do those live that it makes sense?
The same thing's going on here. She's talking about the key elements of what happens on the path to profitability, but she's not talking about the details. She's not answering the question.
If you want grace, you've got to fail in public. A little. Take a hit, let it sting, and don't write a 20-paragraph explanation about why it was unfair. That's how trust is earned again. Not through perfection, but through proof that you're real, learning, and still standing. Now here's what people actually want to know. Not buzzwords, not taglines, but the truth behind the curtain. Does it taste good every single time? Is the price actually fair for what I'm getting? Do you treat me like a person, not just a background extra in your content reel? Do you tell the truth when you mess up? Do you respect my brain, or do you just try to hypnotize me with soft lighting and fancy words? Because if you can honestly say yes to those questions, you can sell anything. Jam, candles, towels, doesn't matter. But if you can't, then even the prettiest picture with the coziest caption will fade fast. The market doesn't reward pretty lies anymore. It has zero patience for them. What it does reward is simple, steady truth, told again and again and backed by actual work. No shortcuts, no filters, no fake gloss. So here's my final take on that interview. It didn't flop because it was negative. It didn't flop because people are mean. It failed because it was sugar-coated and served like it was substance. It failed because it asked us to believe a feeling instead of a fact. It failed because it tried to please everyone and ended up resonating with no one. That can still change, but not with a shiny new tagline or a PR refresh. Change comes from a habit. Show one real thing every time you speak. One number, one name from the factory, one honest mistake you own. Without spin, without excuses. You say the brand is about joy. Okay then. Let's talk about what real joy actually looks like. Real joy is honest. It's not scripted or staged. Real joy is opening a jar that tastes the same in July and January. Real joy is your team getting credit for a batch that came out perfect. Real joy is a price that doesn't spike every time hype does. Real joy is a founder who says, "We're not there yet," and actually means it. That's the kind of truth people root for. Do that, and the whole story shifts. Not overnight, not with headlines, but slowly, quietly, and for real. Until then, let's keep it plain. Nice pictures, nice words, thin proof. That's why people laughed. Not because they hate you, but because they don't believe you. And belief? That's the only real currency in this game. You can't fake it, can't print it, can't act it. You can only earn it. Now, if you want me to break down the investor side of that first look deal, say, show the receipts. If you want me to test the product and talk like a real customer, say, test the jam. And if you want me to drop it and move on, just say, next topic. I'll listen. Because that's the real difference between a brand and a person. A brand just broadcasts, but a person hears. And here's the truth. I actually want you to win as a person first. The brand will follow naturally if the person behind it is real. That's it. I didn't think the interview could sink further, but it did. It stumbled because it tried too hard to be perfect, and perfection kills connection. The fix sounds simple but takes guts. Less performance, more proof, less halo, more human. Until that happens, the jar's just a jar. The words are just words, and the audience already gone. If you've got thoughts, drop them in the comments below. And if this breakdown made you see things differently, hit subscribe, share it with someone who needs a wake-up call, and stay tuned for more deep dives like this.